Hi there.
Hey.
So, it's plugged on. It's Keith. It's Luke again. So, hopefully, you've seen our video where we talked about our ranking of the Harry Potter books. You should have, because I think we did all right.
Yeah, hopefully that video should be up first on today, September 1st.
If not, check it out after this one.
Yeah.
Just,
But
hey,
I can't tell you what to do. It's 2017. It's a free world. Yeah. We're in America. Well, we are. You might not be, but we are.
It's America. So we did the books. So now we're going to rank the Harry Potter movies. Another caveat: we did not, similar like we did not include Cursed Child in our book thing. We did not include Fantastic Beasts in this one. Fantastic Beasts is a great movie, and I feel like it would.
It's a good movie.
I feel like it would sit somewhere in the middle of this list.
Yeah,
probably.
But
like if I had to put it somewhere, I would put it probably like 5.
Yeah,
and then
but it's not technically a Harry Potter movie.
We decided to keep it to just the 8 core Harry Potter movies. So now, whereas the books one was honestly kind of easy for us to come to a consensus because it was mostly the same. This one we had to do a little bit of bouncing around.
Yeah, this one was interesting.
This one was interesting because there's a lot of different opinions on this. But
kind of the one common opinion we had though was kind of the placement of
the bottom and the very top.
Yeah,
it was like the one constant. So let's get right into it. So number 8. In comparatively the worst movie is the first one, which the first one, it's a good movie. It's a fine movie.
It's a fine movie in and of itself.
And it does the pacing of the first book so much better.
Yes.
I will give it that. It does the pacing of the first book so much better. The only things that really hold this movie back are the fact that it's filled with child actors, and it's like even though they are very good for child actors,
yes,
they are still child actors. There's that funny. Have you seen the funny clip of where during like a screen test or something, Emma Watson, they're doing one of the scenes where they're reading about Sorcerer's Stone and she's mouthing everybody's lines, like everybody else's lines, like of Dan and Rupert's, and there's like, Emma, stop mouthing their lines, and they had to tell her that, and it's like. I found that funny. That's like an example of it.
But also like rewatching these movies recently, it's like, oh my god, they look so young. Like it's almost scary. It's weird how young. Because
it's also like for whatever reason, puberty hit them hard, really quick. Especially by the time you hit like the 3rd book, it's like, wow, or the 3rd movie. But still, the other thing is. You can tell that this movie, I think, was made in 2000? 2001.
Early 2000s.
It came out in 2001 because the effects aren't that good.
The effects weren't... They were good for the time. They were great for the time. But, yeah, if you notice, there really wasn't a whole lot of spell casting in this movie.
Yeah, like especially, like, the troll.
Yeah.
It's just like, sure, that looked great back then, but now, like, with, like, the, a lot more HD and things like that, you can see every individual pixel, it's like...
Yeah.
But it's a fine movie. This is one of the first 2 specifically
kind of suffers the same fate as the books.
Yeah. The first 2 movies are very faithful, which is maybe the only plus that they have. They're probably the most faithful of the movies to the books.
And I'm willing to give them like a pass for that reason.
But then I feel like in some ways they're too faithful. Like there's no flair where it's like I might as well just read the books. You know what I mean?
True.
In some ways.
I get what you're saying.
Like, and at least that's my opinion of the first 2. Which, speaking of which, number 7, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This is basically the first movie, slightly better effects, but it's not as fun. Like the first movie, that's the other thing. The first movie's fun, and this one's like super dark and super serious, and it
hadn't found that balance yet.
And it's just like...
And I feel like, it suffered from that.
It suffers. Like, and I also mean just literally aesthetically. It's literally darker. Like, not like tone. Like, it's just... everything is just...
All the scenes seem to be, like, much dimmer.
And I'm just like, And though there are some great spots in this... fucking... Gilderoy is...
God, yes.
Kenneth Branagh is, like, the perfect actor to be...
Gilderoy Lockhart.
It's so perfect, and I like the I thought the stuff with the basilisk was really cool, and the I don't want to harp on because
setting up sort of major things to come.
Yeah, a lot of same things for the second book.
Yeah,
a lot of same things for the second book. It hints at a lot of stuff, but it's just as a movie, it's
okay,
a little drab.
Yeah.
Number 6, we have the 6th book, Half-Blood Prince, which is interesting because, I mean, slight spoiler if you haven't seen the other list. We had Half-Blood Prince pretty high on that list.
Yes, we did.
It was 3. Now, here's the issue. That's really very plot-heavy things and things that are complex are really great to read in a book. Not so much to watch in a movie.
No.
Especially when you cut out half of the stuff from the book that makes the book good.
That was really important, yeah.
Like half of the backstory stuff. It's just gone. Like,
yeah, and that, to me, that's where the movie really suffered. It took, where the first 2 were very faithful to the book, this one kind of took too many liberties from the books. And kind of...
And it didn't work
fell.
Out. Also, I'm just throwing this out there. It might be an unpopular opinion. Book Ginny is so much better than movie Ginny.
Yeah. But again,
nothing against Bonnie Wright.
No.
I mean, she did a great
job.
Job
for when she was actually on screen, but I don't think they... I really don't think they explored Ginny enough as a character. And I get that these movies had so much budget-wise and time-wise and things like that.
And I get it in some ways, because like, you could focus on other characters more, because the books were about Harry, and you said that everybody else was along for the ride, whereas the movies are more about Harry, Ron, and Hermione, which I do like. That like it's more about the 3 of them. I mean, heck, the last shot before the epilogue in the last movie is of all 3 of them. You know,
kind of like they were at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, because the 6th book is cool because it's a lot of relationship stuff, and that's cool to read.
It's a lot of plot
it's just not that
development
interesting
before the final.
Yeah,
bit.
it's not a lot of. It's not interesting to watch though.
No.
Also, again, I just want to point out my shirt. I pointed out in the last video, Les Whiz. It's a stupid thing.
It is.
I'm happy about it.
Of course, you are.
Because this is me. Okay, number 5, Prisoner of Azkaban. I think this movie again is another movie that takes a lot of liberties with the source material. Like they leave out like everything about how Harry's dad and his friends are the people who made the map.
Yeah.
Like, they just kind of didn't acknowledge that, which kind of sucks.
It missed some major plot points from the book, but it also handled the liberties it took fairly well, in my opinion.
This movie has the most character out of all of the movies. It is the most unique looking, and I think that's the saving grace. All the little snippets of just weird things that, like, just happen around screen. Yeah. Like everything from, like, the Leaky Cauldron when Harry's there is like great, and the Knight's Bus is like a fun sequence that was like, it's kind of boring.
Sequences in that movie. Yeah.
It's kind of boring in the books, but then it's like, we're gonna give these people characters, and it's like.
But it also handled the time travel, avoiding the paradox element and setting that up very well, because the thing, you know, in Hagrid's hut breaking.
Yeah, like in the books, it's just kind of implied that, hey, we have to be careful. It's a different implication, because in the books, it's implied like, you got to be careful, you can mess with time. Whereas the movies kind of imply that things happen
when
and
you
it's
mess
like,
with time.
Well, no, like it implied that like things are gonna happen. It's like they were always going to go back in time. You know what I mean? Like like you can't really change time. Like, sure, they went back, but then everything ended up just being exactly.
There are certain. Well, I mean,
because like that's what I mean. You see all these weird things happen, like the pot breaking and somebody getting hit in the back of the head, and there's like a lot of little weird things like that of things that happen. It just makes it sound like
you also never see Buckbeak get decapitated technically.
So it's like maybe it didn't happen. Like, it's just like maybe things were always supposed to happen this way, and instead of Dumbledore being like, we can save people, it's like, hey, you just need. I'm pretty sure you did this, so we need to make sure that you still do this. And some time travel's weird, man.
But it handled it very well.
Which is why the one thing, which is like a thing that when I read, it made a lot of sense. Which is kind of going back to the book discussion. Really quick tangent. That's why like the Time Turner room gets destroyed in the 5th book, because J.K. Rowling's like, yeah, I don't want this plot hole to be there.
Yeah.
So just boom, let's just get rid of it. Like, by literally destroying all
of the Time Turners.
Let's just get rid of this potential plot hole.
Except for maybe the one that Hermione had.
No, that one, no, because she hands that one back in. And then also, there is one that survives, and that's the whole part of Cursed Child, but...
Okay.
Cursed Child's a whole nother bucket of worms. Which apparently that might become a movie eventually, supposedly. Warner Brothers did file a patent.
Maybe they can do it better.
Maybe. They have to get at least Dan, Emma, and Rupert back. They have to get at least, and they have to get everybody back, which I think everybody except for Emma would be completely down, because I mean she's kind of doing her own thing, whereas like everybody else is like kind of doing their own thing. But then like Dan Radcliffe's like, yeah, you know what? I'm never gonna be a part of anything as successful as Harry Potter ever again, and neither will anyone else. And I'm like, damn, he said that. And but then it's like he's like, oh yeah, I'll come back, because it's like,
why not?
Why not? I mean, even though he's doing really good indie films, I mean, that Swiss Army Man apparently was fairly good, even though it's fairly campy and but whatnot. But
anyway,
I digress. We're getting very off topic. Prisoner of Azkaban is just, I think, because it's like, you know, they have Gary Oldman.
This is one, Gary Oldman
is great.
He's fantastic in this role of Sirius Black. Now that I think about it, I really can't picture anyone else being Sirius Black. But also they sort of started to find their stride in terms of like special effects, because
even then it looks different in this movie. Like none of the spells have color. Yeah. Which I'm just like, what? Like you notice that? Like none of the spells.
There are very few spells that have color.
Well, but there's all kinds of like you see color getting thrown back and forth like a lot, like in the second book, in the battle in the fifth book, in like there's usually color, but it's literally just like gusts of wind in this movie. I'm like, that's interesting. It's different, and it's like, all right,
but the like when they did the different kind of various looks of the Patronus and things like that, like that was really cool to see, and they started to find their. Like, Buckbeak, I'm sure, was a bitch to animate.
Oh, probably. At that time, that was like, what, 2003?
2003, 2004, somewhere around there? I think
it was 2003. Yeah, it was...
2003, yeah.
Probably, yeah, because it was before... Yeah, it was 2003. Yeah. I'm almost 90% positive. But, like, yeah, this got to be fun, because they get the movements. I mean, despite, obviously being CG, he looks pretty lifelike.
And just, like the movement of, like, the wind on the feathers and, like, that whole... flight sequence and things like that.
It's gotta be hard.
Yeah.
So, Prisoner of Azkaban. Number 4, we have Goblet of Fire.
Same place as books, actually, for these two. Oh. Prisoner and Goblet.
Wow, would you look at that? Yeah. I just noticed that as well. Well, I like Goblet. Goblet, again, they cut out a lot of stuff from the book. I mean, originally this was supposed to be a two-parter. Which I'm in some ways I'm glad that they held off until the last book, because I mean it was starting to get. This was the first movie where like, Dan Radcliffe was 15 and Harry's 14, and then I think by the time that the last book comes out, they're all like 21 and they're playing 17-year-olds. So like if they would have had to spend more time making these movies, the age disparity would have gotten a lot more noticeable. Obvious, But I like what they did, because I think where they sacrificed, they did good. Like, no offense, some of the tasks, maybe besides the third one, because the third one's really interesting in the books, the tasks kind of suck in the books. Like, I mean, they're good reads, but it's like...
The dragon fight.
The dragon fight's so much better in the movies.
Really
it's
cool.
It's so great. It's like, it's one of my favorite parts of any Harry Potter movie. Yeah. And the second task is pretty good. Like they actually had like a green screen tank, and he's actually in the water. Yeah. And it's like, this is really cool. And, they did the Yule Ball pretty well, I thought. Like, it's just like, they kind of did everything that they did do, they did very well. And I'm like, okay, you did cut out some stuff. That's fine. Like, there's no Dobby, which maybe that kind of sucks, because it's like he just kind of shows up again in the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Yeah. But it's like,
I mean, Goblet, again, was kind of similar to the books in the fact that the movie showed you there's more to the world than just... Number 4, Privet Drive, the Burrow, Hogwarts.
King's Cross.
King's Cross.
And then I guess Diagon Alley, which you spent a little bit... But it's like, boom, here. There's...
Like, a couple small parts in London, the Burrow, Hogwarts / Hogsmeade. Like, showing the Quidditch World Cup, which I feel like they could have done a lot more. They could have actually shown... Because they really didn't show much of the attack, did they?
A little bit. Well, because Harry gets knocked out. Yeah. Like, really quickly. It's also they did the whole Barty Crouch thing differently, which I think worked for the movie. I do like the book version of how they did it better. It's a lot more like whodunit. Yeah. Whereas like it's less of a mystery. Well, then again, the movies came out after the books, so of course it's not a mystery if you've read the books. But like it's like it's a little bit more obvious in some ways. So.
But I like the portrayal of Barty Crouch Jr. Why am I blanking on the name?
David Tennant.
David Tennant.
Come
yes.
on,
Doctor Number 10.
Doctor Number 10. Kilgrave.
He's done a lot of things.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's a little too good at playing an unhinged individual. He
also looked very unhinged in this movie. Like the hair makeup costume department did an excellent job.
Yeah, and also with
Mad Eye.
Mad Eye was a good one. Also, Ralph Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes as Voldemort is great.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, he wouldn't be my first choice, but he works really well.
I still can't it's hard for me to picture Ralph Fiennes with a nose.
Yeah, because it's just I'm just so used to seeing him without a nose.
I can't see his face.
Why? Why do you have a nose when I watch him in other things?
Yeah.
Get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
Just cut it off. I'm joking. Don't cut off your nose.
But
they did a lot of. Like I said, the graveyard sequence is done very well.
I think the only sequence where the ball was kind of dropped was the maze.
Yeah, because it just kind of became a lot more generic.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, and I mean the World Cup, because like you said, they could have actually done more with it, but
yeah.
It did pretty alright. And they cut out some things that are cool moments in the books, but the Weasleys getting Harry from Privet Drive, which is a hilarious thing. The beginning of the books with Dudley getting a super long tongue, and I'm like, yep, it's pretty good. I like it. But I mean, I can survive without that. That's more of just that's probably the one thing that gets sacrificed a lot in these movies is some of the character moments, which is why in some of these later movies that we're getting to, there's some more character moments, and that's kind of why they're up there, is because they spend time building characters. So number 3, we have Deathly Hallows Part 1. This one's I'm of two minds with this one. I do really like this movie, and I like it. Mostly, I like it because there's a lot of character development, like I just said. It spends a lot of time. You spend a lot of time with just Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
It does a very good job with those character moments of those 3, because you really haven't had a chance
to just see them, and probably one of my favorite moments is the I think the scene is literally called "It Could Have Gone That Way," which is when Harry and Hermione dance in the tent, and it's that's a good moment. And I think the movie suffers because not a lot happens in the movie, but that's just the nature of the first half of Deathly Hallows, in which the second half of Deathly Hallows is very much more fast paced. The first half. I mean, when you put it in perspective, first half they destroy one Horcrux. In the second half, they get everything else.
Yeah, pretty much.
They destroy technically 4. So it's So so it suffers because of that, but then I mean there are really good sequences. I think the stuff in the Ministry was done well. Stuff in Malfoy Manor was done very well. Dobby's death was ow. The whole leaving Flight from the Burrow. I mean, not a Flight from the Burrow. Flight from
Privet Drive
was really cool. I thought that was wow, that's actually with the whole thing with them going in the tunnel. I liked with Harry and Hagrid.
That was cool. Really well done sequence.
It was cool to make Hagrid a character again. He kind of wasn't a character as much in
books 5 and 6.
He was in the movies. In the books, he's still kind of there. Same thing with McGonagall. McGonagall wasn't as much of a character from the 5th movie on. Same thing with Hagrid. He wasn't as much of a character from the 5th movie.
I think it was the Order, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Order was there for the 5th book, and then they just kind of drop off.
Yeah.
It's so, and yeah, there's mostly the character moment is what saves this movie.
I had this a little bit higher on my personal list. I had it at number 2 because of it took the time to really kind of fully flesh out these characters and their relationships, and I think, like he said, the scene between Harry and Hermione after Ron kind of just walks away was very well done. It was a very kind of emotionally charged scene.
Oh yeah,
but it was also a scene that sort of relieved a little bit of tension that had built up at this point, because it's he's gone, okay, but hey, everything could still be all right.
Which was nice. It was very nice, and then. There's
the wedding at the beginning, I think, was also kind of very necessary. the scene with Harry and Ginny in the burrow.
Yeah.
When she asks him to like zip up the back of her dress.
That is the one scene that I think is Harry and Ginny scene that is done better in the movies than in the books. For two reasons, which is A, because the scene's kind of awkward in the books, and then also for the pure comedy gold that comes from George interrupting them.
Yeah. But it's also like, Harry, if you've read the books anyway, Harry and Ginny end up together, but in the movies you haven't really seen
you get a little bit
any moments between the two of them at this point, which
you kind of did in the books. You get a couple in the sixth book, which is, in the sixth movie, but yeah.
This is a scene that actually shows how much the two of them really, really care about each other.
Yeah,
and Harry's kind of torn between, yes, I care about this now, woman who's kind of had a crush on me for years, but it took me a while to realize I felt the same way, and the fact that I could die.
Yeah.
on this quest I have to go on. Knowing that he has to leave.
I thought the line, it seemed, the conversation, it seems silly to have a wedding during all of this, and Harry goes, maybe that's the reason to have it. I'm like,
yeah,
that's a cool thing, and that's the kind of stuff that this movie does better on.
Yeah.
Than probably any other movie in terms of character development is this one. Does some good stuff.
Like you said, they only destroy the one Horcrux in this movie.
It just seems slow.
But the fact that it ended on just that gut punch of Dobby's death, just boom,
makes
roll
you
credits.
really sets up for the second
half,
which came out 6 months later, if I'm not mistaken.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it was November and then July. Oh yeah, I saw both these movies twice in theaters.
Yeah,
and then I literally both times I'm like, I watched them and I'm like, I went back the next day, which was a little bit more of a chore because I didn't live 5 minutes from. But
yeah.
Still.
Speaking of 2, on to number 2, which is Deathly Hallows Part 2.
I think they did everything. I feel like they did a lot of things in Deathly Hallows Part 2 a little bit better than they did in the movies. I think the Battle of Hogwarts is done completely better in the movie, because whereas the battle is just kind of something that's happening in the background in the book, you actually see bits of the battle in the movie, which is cool. There's that one sequence where they're trying to get to the boathouse or whatever, and so they fight their way and they encounter giants and spiders and Dementors, and it's it sets up the scale. And then also the whole final battle, for the most part, I think is better than in the books, even though there's a lot of talking in the books and then it's one spell and done. Besides the ending section, which is there's actual this is why Voldemort is it happens in the 5th movie too, but this is why Voldemort is considered one of the greatest,
someone that needs to be destroyed, but is one of the greatest wizards of all time.
And then why Harry is even capable, why it's even
possible for Harry to kill him.
Which and I like that. And they do a lot of other cool stuff. I thought the stuff with the dragon, which was cool. And it's the only thing that sucks about either of these two movies is that I feel like they didn't spend as much time on Dumbledore's backstory. And it's the fact that they tease it.
Yes.
A lot, but then they don't ever fully get into it. And I'm like, I get it. You don't want to bog the movie down in any more than it is with that stuff, but it's why even mention it then? They mention Ariana, Dumbledore's sister, and then they kind of say, did he tell you about her? Did he mention her name? And it's my brother when he's talking to Aberforth, my brother sacrificed a lot, including her, and it's you're not going to go into that at all?
Yeah, you're just going to drop that bomb, but you're not going to explain really how. So, and again, a little more in depth in the books, but really never explained, never fully explored.
Well, I
think is necessary.
I think
for
the anonymity for that.
I
think the anonymity of that moment is very telling.
It's important for the enigma of Albus Dumbledore.
The fact that he doesn't know who killed his sister, I think, is probably even better than any kind of plot device where they find out.
Yeah, I
think it's better. And then. Yeah, I think the ending works well. Again, I think it's almost more in character for Harry to break the Elder Wand and throw it than to just put it back in Dumbledore's tomb for somebody else to just take it. You know what I mean? It's a little bit more telling. And
I wish they would have just showed him fixing, like, because in the books he kept his wand.
Yeah.
In the Hermione's little bag, he pulled it out, fixed it with the Elder Wand, because it was the only thing that could repair it. And then snap the Elder Wand, get rid of it.
Yeah, there's only like a couple small things. I just think this movie's very, very well done. Again, I think it's like the best send-off that they could have had. And I think they did it as good as they could and as best as they could.
To me, the one thing that the movie really struggled with, and really is the only thing I have against the movie, is the pacing.
Pacing's really quick.
Because it's just, it starts off with Dobby's funeral, and then go.
Which, again...
Malfoy Manor. Go, final battle.
Again, I think that has to do with just the pacing of the book. That's just how the book is. The second half of the book goes so much quicker than the first half. Mm-hmm. A lot of nothing happens in the first half of Deathly Hallows too, but like it doesn't seem as encumbersome. The movie didn't explore the Hallows enough, though. Oh, it didn't. It definitely did not.
And that's where both movies kind of suffered.
It definitely didn't. Okay.
I did like the animation they did for the telling of the story.
That was cool. I did like that as well. That was a nice way to do that, because it's kind of a very wordy part of the book.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Okay, number 1. The only one that's left. Order of the Phoenix. I think this is just the best comparison of the adaptation to the books, to the movie, because there's a lot of good stuff in the books. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we had it in number 2 on our book list. But they cut out all the stuff that they didn't need because they weren't bringing it up in the books, and made things so much better. Like Dumbledore's armies, the practices, like that actually felt like a thing instead of just something that kind of happened.
And there were cool sequences in and of themselves, like when they're blasting the mannequin around, or they're kind of like bouncing around, and then Ginny just
destroys it. And it's like, there you go.
And then you kind of see Harry get like a little quarter chub.
I was gonna say, you can kind of see that. Like I liked it that, like, you know, they, maybe the one thing I think they do well is that, you know, hey,
they sort of tease that relationship.
Since by that point you already knew that's where the series was going. And the other thing that's like so good is the Department of Mysteries.
I feel like they could have done more with the lead up to that battle in the Department of Mysteries.
Yeah,
I feel like comparatively, this was probably one of the shorter movies, just because like once you hit,
I feel like the pacing was really good. So I think it's about as long as the other ones, is that you just don't
notice it.
And like the whole thing between Dumbledore and Voldemort, it's like, yes,
oh my god!
It's first so off, good.
Like the fight in the execution chamber, because that's pretty much what I'm calling it, just made me cream my pants.
That's so
like the effects, like this. I think is the movie where the effects really started to shine.
And you can tell there's also little details. I watched like a behind the scenes thing. They had a dude who was like, this is how you fight with a wand.
Yeah.
And it's like, there was like they set up literal wand movements for like, this is how you cast, this is how you defend. And I'm like, yeah. And then you can see things like how Sirius has like a different style, and he's more like from street style and things like that. And it's like, there's so many cool things, and I think that like they tell some things so much better than the books. Like just the little things, which is just like a little thing that they brought up a couple times in the books, with just the whole Harry just going and that's like, you know, him feeling Voldemort, and I'm like, that was so like, yes, yeah.
And again, the duel between Voldemort and Dumbledore. What?
I also think a character that they did very, very well, which I think they could have easily messed up, and I don't think I think they did pretty good job in the rest of the movies, is Luna.
Yeah,
Luna they did a fantastic job with, and Ivana.
Really, the first Ivana Lynch.
Ivana Lynch, she did a great job.
Movie where she's really a character.
I think. Book, she's a character too. It's like
pretty much.
Like, I mean, and this is the first story, and she very quickly becomes a very important character.
Yeah.
And I like that. And they did a good job. They did a good job with like the Thestrals. Who they cast is Umbridge. One of the best. First off, Harry Potter has some of the best casting.
Yes.
Ever.
But Umbridge.
This
was spot on. This is exactly how I pictured Umbridge. It was just an obscenity in pink.
Yeah.
And it was glorious. And it was just.
You hate her.
She's
just the worst.
Offensive from the get-go. Like, not just like, hey, you know, she's a bitch of a character, but just like visually, like, my eyes were offended by so much
hurt while looking at her. And
And the voice was just like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah, they nailed just about everything in this movie. Like, yeah, they didn't spend as much time explaining things like the book does, but they did a good job of finding other ways to do it. Like, not having a fucking 30-minute conversation between Harry and Dumbledore at the end. Yeah. Instead of having Harry already find out about the prophecy a little bit earlier and then just have it be a small conversation. But an equally powerful one.
Yes.
And this is the best. I mean, this is the best.
But it also doesn't, the movie anyway he doesn't find out that it could have been Neville just as
they don't acknowledge that, which it's a cool thing in the books, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, when you see that the story's done, it's like,
really matter.
It doesn't really matter. But it's good. Like I said, that's why it's our number one. That's why it's the best.
It really is.
So, there you go. This was our ranking of the top Harry Potter movies. Don't forget to go check out the books list if you haven't already, because that one's a bit different. There's some similarities, but it is a bit different, and we talk about some different things. Comment what your list and
as always, likes and subscribes are greatly appreciated.
If you have any other things
you'd like us to list,
especially in terms of like books and movies, if you want us to rank some other stuff, you should do it.
Or if you want to see Keith take a pie in the face,
that's not going to happen. I'm sorry, I'm not about that.
Make it happen.
Fine. All right. Well, enough of that.
Anyway.
All right. Bye.